title. So. Yep. So let's see. So good afternoon, everybody. As this is part of my PhD project, so today, I will talk about the 4D evolution of this interpolate fault strike-slip fault system, and I'm going to show you how it actually relates to the intraplate response to the Arabian-Eurasian collision. We were trying to understand how intraplate deformation evolves in space and time, and how this intraplate evolution actually relates to the overall evolution at the plate boundary. In order to do so, we need high-resolution data sets from the intraplate domain at the scale of a single fault system. As a result, we focused on an area in central Iran, and we reconstructed his kinematic and fault system architecture, and we try to reconstruct the overall timing and the history of propagation of this fault system. And then we try to see if the events or if this history could be related to the formation which went on at the plate boundary. We use a multidisciplinary approach which integrated structural, geomorphological, and stratigraphic field investigation together with geochronological and thermochronological analysis. So just a little bit of background. Iran has been interested by convergence of Arabia towards Eurasia, which started around 170 million years ago and culminated with a continent-to-continent collision in the Eocene, Oligocene time. There is a lot of debate about the exact timing and the history just following the actual continent-continent collision. But what it is known that is such northward accommodation is at the moment taken up mainly by the Zagros and the Makran active subduction zone and the Alborz and Talesh orogenic belts. And in central Iran is taken up by distributed strike-slip deformation, which is organized in north-south bilateral and east-to-west sinistral, but not only sinistral, as I will show you, strike-slip fault system. There are two quite well-established events which have been recognized in the history, in the post-collisional history of central Iran. One is an early Miocene enhanced exhumation event recognized along the orogenic domains of Iran, and one is a late Miocene, early Pliocene inferred tectonic reorganization, which has been documented mainly along the Zagros-Makran transfer zone, the Kopadag, and by renewed exhumation along the Alborz. Okay, my study area is right there, just 30 kilometers south to the Darune fault system. The Kufagan consists of an east-west oriented, discontinuous and topographically prominent mountainous ridge, which geologically consists of a centrally outcropping Paleozoic and Mesozoic basement, and surrounded by overlapping sequences of Neogene continental deposits. The orientation of such deposits form an antiformal structure oriented subparallel to the fault system, and which kind of in correspondence of the fault system. Structurally, it consists of three main east-west oriented left-stepping bilateral fault strands, which have particular kinematic characters, but overall they are strike-slip. So this is just a quick example of what the fault system or the fault zone looks like in the field. We can see that we have hefty damage zones with and fault cores which cut sharply through the neogene sediments, and we can see we have a range of kinematic indicators which readily show us that this fault system is bilateral. We've done, we collected quite a lot of structural fault data, and the analysis show that the Kufagan fault is indeed a bilateral strike-slip fault system which is oriented east to west. The sediments, the neogene sediments, are very important. They belong to the upper red formation, which has been dated to span between the Burdigalian and the Messinian, and they consist of 3 main cycles, and which make up a 3.8 kilometer thick sequence of continental deposits. There is an overall fining upwards of the sequence, and an important thing to notice is that the scene sedimentary deformation is mainly present in cycle 1 and cycle 2 and fades out within the base of cycle 3. We also done some, we collected data for apatite helium thermochronology, both in the basement and at the base of the neogene sediments, and we see that there are, this data document cluster around 2 main episodes of fault-related exhumation around 18 and 4 MA. We also done some hematite, a really new technique, hematite helium thermochronology on fault surfaces, which should give you the age of faulting, and we can see that those span between 3 and 9 and seem to be related to the latest event of fault-related exhumation. So the dataset was integrated into a evolutionary model which explains the spatial and temporal evolution of the Kufagan, and I'm not going to go too much into detail, but what it shows is that the Kufagan propagated from west to east, and they started as a broad zone of diffuse deformation, and it propagated towards the east and towards the east, and it localized. This propagation and localization was accompanied by topographic growth, which is chiefly registered by the spatial distribution and sequence of the neogene sediments, which are associated with this first event. The fault zone then went into a period of tectonic quiescence where thick piles of lacustrine and gestiferous marls almost covered the entire structure. The second event, then there is 4, and everything got reactivated, and therefore we registered this second event in the base of the neogene sediments. So what we know now about the central Iran, what is the tectonic model? It basically the proposed model envisage anti-clockwise rotation to the south of the Darune and clockwise rotation to the north of the Darune. And this model basically predicts that these east-west oriented faults should be all sinistral. But what we know is that, yes, the Darune is indeed sinistral, but before 4 million years ago, it wasn't sinistral. It was actually destral. We know also that the Kusarangi has been documented to have been destral since the Neogene time onwards, and we know that our study area, the Kufagan, is also dextral. So we need a new, there is a need for a new regional model, and we propose this highly simplified model, but which has quite a lot of constraints from published literature, and it basically explains everything through a varying degree of tectonic coupling at the Arabia-Eurasian interface. And how much do we time? Done. Okay. So I can explain this a bit better in details, but it basically shows the driver of everything is that here you have continental collision, and here you have subduction, and therefore you get a different velocity configurations in the interplay domains, which result in reactivation of this fault system in the early Miocene time or dextral, and in the Pliocene time, you get the Darune reactivation as a sinistral fault, and the other one are maintained as dextral. So I'll leave you right there. Sorry about that.
Is there any short question?
Yeah. You didn't mention the Pamir subduction.
The what, sorry?
The subduction in the Pamirs.
Pamirs?
So that's a little bit further to the east.
No, Makran, the Makran.
No, in the northeast. Can you go back one?
Yes. Here?
Yeah, and just outside of the left-hand side of your picture, north.
Okay, the left-hand side, yeah.
Where it says Kopetdag, and that goes then into the
Yes.
in the subduction zone there.
I didn't mention that, no.
No. Does that mean that you don't see a role for that in your overall evolution?
Well, there is the Ballato paper 2003 that works on the Alborz mountain. It actually argues that the role of this subduction is actually later, is post 3 million years ago. So it shouldn't affect the system. I don't see any signal at that point. So that's why I didn't include it.